Same time on the Saturday afternoon, we are live. And for today's coverage of the Pit Boss 250 from Sonoma Raceway for the next NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race in the first of two races this weekend in wine country. A mini West Coast swing for the NASCAR schedule for the top two series as we go into an 11-turn road course following a street course race in Southern California, San Diego last week, now to Northern Cal in the Sonoma Valley for this weekend's race. Appreciate everybody tuning in for both of the live commentary streams. And as we kick today's off, we will go through the starting lineup for this race here this afternoon. A couple of road course ringers from the Cup Series, Connor Zilisch and Shane Van Gisbergen, going to be going for the win. A mix of the young guns still looking for a good road course run again this weekend, like the likes of Brent Cruz, who led a bunch of laps last week, had some speed, crashed out early. Multi-time winner on road courses in this series, Sam Mayer. Austin Hill, who got his first road course race win on the streets of San Diego a week ago, and much more. Starting lineup for the race has Shane Van Gisbergen on the pole. Wasn't able to get the pole sweep this weekend at Sonoma like he did last year, but he will be looking to go for a race win this year, which he did not in this series. Brent Cruz will be starting in the second place position in row number one with him, the 18-year-old and a driver who, again, led a bunch of laps last week in San Diego. Taylor Gray and Anthony Alfredo will be in row two. Anthony Alfredo, good qualifying effort, top five last week, had a crash middle of the race. We'll see how he does this week. His teammate Parker Retzlaff, back-to-back top five performance in qualifying as well. He'll be on the inside of row three alongside Corey Day, California native. Jesse Love with Justin Allgaier in row number four. Allgaier with over a 200-point lead still, even after a crash last week. And in row number five, Sam Mayer with Austin Hill. Hill, a winner a week ago in San Diego. Sheldon Creed with William Sawalich will line up in row number six. Row seven for Sammy Smith and Brandon Jones. Ross Chastain, the third Cup regular in the field today, will be alongside Carson Kvapil in the 91 for Mario Gosling in row number eight. Dean Thompson and Josh Bilicki, row number nine. Bilicki, a pretty solid road course racer. Row 10, Harrison Burton and Will Rogers making a one-off start today. Raja Karuth in the 88 for Junior Motorsports alongside Jeb Burton for Jordan Anderson racing in row number 11. Jeremy Clements and Alex LeBay in row number 12. Ryan Sieg, who is just outside the Chase Cut line, and Josh Williams in row 13. Row 14 for Blaine Perkins and Kyle Sieg. In row number 15, Ryan Ellis and Connor Zilisch starting deep in the pack. Row 16 for LeVar Scott and Brennan Poole. Leland Honeyman, rookie Patrick Staropoli in row 17. Row 18, Kyle Kelly and Dawson Cram. Row 19 will be Austin Green, who should be a good competitor for the race today, and Brad Perez rounding out the field. So 38 cars, full field for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series out west this weekend in Sonoma. 79 laps in the race, 20 laps in stage one, 25 laps in stage two. Final stage will make up the final 34 laps to take us to the finish. So that is your full starting grid for today's race. Point standings for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. I mentioned already that Justin Allgaier has a 224-point lead. He's got 5 wins on the season to Jesse Love, who sits second in points, having 0. Corey Day, third in the standings after last week. He's minus 238, only 16 points out of second. Sheldon Creed is fourth in the standings at minus 240. Austin Hill, with his win, moved up into the top 5 in points, and Brandon Jones backwards to 6th in points. Carson Kvapil in 7th between the two rides that he is in this year, the 1 and the 91. Sammy Smith is 8th in points in the number 8 car. Parker Retzlaff still 9th in points, scored a lot of stage points last week, didn't get a good race finish, but still good enough to move up in points. With that being said, Taylor Gray scored a lot of stage points and had a good finish last week. He's up 3 spots in points. He came in last week below the cut line. This week, he's a couple spots above. Sam Mayer lost a couple spots with another DNF. He is 11th in points and last driver in William Sawalich by 5 points over his rookie teammate Brent Cruz. Cruz missed 4 races this year. He got above the cut line a few weeks ago, but he's kind of been fluctuating back and forth, struggling to get to the end of races over the last month. He sits, again, 5 points below the cut line, first driver out. Raja Karuth is sitting only 9 points below the cut line entering today. Ryan Sieg very much in contention, underdog story there. He is minus 27 points below the cut line. And Brennan Poole sitting just over 100 back, 16th in points as we kind of round out the top 16 and kind of the drivers who are on the bubble as we have just 8 races to go in the regular season, 7 after tonight. So that is a lookout for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series entering this evening's race. Field is doubled up and we should be going green here shortly. Shout outs to those of you in the chat. We got Steve J, Wayne Martin, JoJo, Patrick Shadley. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. You can vote for who you think is going to win today's race in our chat poll that will remain open until the end of stage 2. Shane Van Gisbergen, the favorite to win today's race, is the top vote getter so far. He is at 59% of 17 early votes. Connor Zilic at 18%, tied with somebody other than SVG, Connor Zilic or Austin Hill to go for the win. And Hill, who is a consistent top 5 threat on road courses, finally broke through with the win last week in San Diego. He only has 6% of the votes so far. Connor Burke, welcome into the stream as well. Austin Green's a very bold pick, but hey, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily. Could definitely be of the top 10 contenders. Not an extreme outlier to go for the win. Starting deep in the field, going to be tough for him. I'm sure he will be a part of those flipping the stages early on. Lights are still on the pace car, so they're not going green this time, but likely to go green the following lap. So for some late breaking updates, I'll let you listen into the CW broadcast. CW is where you can visually watch today's race and every race for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series all season long.
So the soccer show.
AJ Allmendinger, the guest commentator in the booth, by the way. So Adam Alexander, AJ Allmendinger, and Parker Kligerman in the booth this week.
The pole sitter SVG, he's a favorite this afternoon. A little extra motivation from the Cup race last weekend at San Diego. He was not happy with Austin Hill after Austin sparked a massive crash that resulted in a DNF for Shane. And Shane's disappointment, it lingered most of the week. And he told his crew chief, Philip Bell, he took him so long, in fact, longer than any incident he'd ever faced in racing to shake it off. So I asked Philip if he thinks it'll be a distraction today, especially with Austin in the field, and he said, quite the opposite. He told me, quote, "There is speed and an angry driver." Dylan?
And Kim, as mentioned, Connor Zilic will start at the back of the field today. Fear not, this isn't the first time this year where the one team with Zilic driving has had to overcome a similar challenge. At Circuit of the Americas earlier this spring, they started at the rear of the field, and by the end of stage 1, they were up to third. So that's Rodney Childers' reminder to his team today. Take care of the car early. With Connor driving, there's little doubt that we can make up that deficit in enough time to contend for the win today.
I'm here for the show, and you would just anticipate as we go throughout the afternoon, it will be a duel between two of the best ever when you talk about racing on the road in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Look at what these two have done head-to-head when they've been doing it on a road course. Just incredible, the back and forth between this duo, Zilic and Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think it's so 6 wins,
One of them
wins, and then the other one wins, and one of them wins, and the other one wins. So
They've won every time they're in the head-to-head together on a road course. So.
Yeah, with
One of the
runner-ups.
two, yeah.
I like it. Fun to watch. Very talented, and they no doubt will be big players and a big part of the conversation here today. Toyota Camry pacing the field as they come down through the S's. Let's talk a little bit here. Van Gisbergen goes driver's right. Where does all of that come from when you think about how to manage this race? Because 1 and 2 are so unique in where you want to be.
So yeah, it's kind of driver preference in the sense of, do you think you can get the launch in the restart zone and clear him if you're SVG right now starting on the outside technically of turn 1? He's thinking I can get the launch, clear him, pull down. Now, the problem is if it doesn't happen, it's very slick on the outside. So he's hoping here that he gets the quick launch, able to dive in front of Brent Cruz, run the bottom through turn 1.
Opening stage, 20 laps.
His car pulling off and away, and we are going to be set to go green. Shane Van Gisbergen, the pole sitter, will lead us to the start-finish line for the first time today, and we are racing in wine country, Sonoma Raceway, for the next stop of the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Up the hill as they head through the carousel, if you will. Through the first couple of corners, Shane Van Gisbergen going to pop out with the race lead, entering turns 3A and B. Single file in the top 4 positions. Corey Day in a battle with Parker Retzlaff for 5th right now, and it looks like Retzlaff going to take over that spot. Having that inside lane advantage into turn 4A now. Shane Van Gisbergen already pulling away from the front runners at the pack just behind him. Brent Cruz with a big block going down into turn 7 on Anthony Alfredo in the 96, who pulled out a line looking to make a move and couldn't quite get to the inside of Cruz, with Cruz having that defensive line. And now side by side, some cars under the S's stills are trying to get organized. That is the toughest area of the racetrack to go 2x2. Those tight side winding corners back and forth, left, right, left, and back onto the kink in turn 10 where you're mostly on throttle before a high braking zone and probably the biggest passing opportunity of the day, turn 11, down in the hairpin, pretty much the finishing corner, considering that there is another kink in turn 11 headed back to the start-finish line. As we round out lap number 1, Shane Van Gisbergen easily will be the leader by just over half a second ahead of Brent Cruz. 1.1 seconds back for Anthony Alfredo in third. Taylor Gray, second and a half back in fourth. And Parker Retzlaff, 2.4 seconds off the lead, rounding out the top 5 in fifth. So again, that was at the end of lap number 1. Connor Zilic starting deep in the field. We'll keep an eye on him. Austin Green, maybe another driver who's going to pick up a lot of spots in the early going of today's race as well. Connor Zilic up 5 spots in the opening lap from 30th to 25th. And as for Austin Green, he is still just a little bit outside the top 25, which is all we can see at once on the live leaderboard. Green is in 34th right now, so he has picked up a few spots already. And Cruz trying to keep pace with Shane Van Gisbergen. Big learning opportunity for the 18-year-old to follow, who is the Cup Series favorite week in and week out on road courses at the modern day. And a driver who's won numerous times in road courses here at the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series level as well. A couple of them last season in his first full-time Cup campaign, and also a couple times this year. Been driving for Junior Motorsports, actually ended up winning for Junior Motorsports at COTA earlier in the season, so SVG does have one series win. He's got a Cup win also at Watkins Glen this year, and he does have a win at Sonoma in this series back in 2024, though when going head-to-head last season with Connor Zilic, SVG finished second to Zilic's race win. So it's really the one race that those two went toe-to-toe from start to finish and actually finished P1 and P2. It's the only first and second place finish between the two of them when they're both in the field at the same time. But as you heard moments ago, when Connor Zilic and Shane Van Gisbergen are in the same field at the same time in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, one of those two have gone to victory lane in all 6 races. And the only time they've done that at Sonoma was last year. The only track that they've had more than one occurrence at has been Watkins Glen, both this season and what would have been Shane Van Gisbergen's full-time series back in 2024 was actually the debut of Connor Zilic, and he ended up winning in his debut at Watkins Glen. So 3 times there and 1 time at another track. This will be the 7th meeting between the two today. One starting all the way up at the front, the other at the back. They both started on the front row last season. With SVG on the pole, Zilic started second, but Zilic won the race, and SVG finished second. I believe they split for the stage wins as well, 1-1. Connor Zilic going 3 wide, trying to make some passes, very aggressive underneath both Dean Thompson and Jeremy Clements. Between turns 3 and 4 on that last lap. Got to make sure not to make contact getting his way through the field, risk cutting a tire and sending him behind the 8 ball a little further. With the field flipping of strategy that we're going to see at the end of Stage 1 and Stage 2 with who's going to take points and who is not, Zilic could be on the offensive strategy of not taking points because he is not running the full O'Reilly Auto Parts Series season. Car off track, Brandon Jones on the 20 car going wide in turn 3A, an area where we saw several drivers going wide in NASCAR Cup Series qualifying a little bit ago. Jones going to go wide, get back up onto the racing surface there, loses quite a few positions. Let's take a look back to see where Jones actually started the race today and where he's running right now. Brandon Jones was started in the 14th place position, and he dropped back quite a few spots. Handful of them was Zilic in 22nd right now, and Jones popping out right there with him. So right around 22nd, 23rd for the driver of the 20 as he's in the rear view now of the driver of the number 1. Zilic a couple spots ahead of him already. Connor looking down into Harrison Burton to make a pass in turn number 10 in the hairpin, and he's going to be able to do so successfully. So Connor Zilic has already broken his way into the top 20. No surprise, it did not take him very long. Oh, and a slide! Big save by Connor Zilic up out of turn 2. Keeping that pressure on Harrison Burton after not being able to complete the pass the lap before downhill in the hairpin. And I believe some dust may be kicked up onto the racetrack from drivers going a little bit below the curbing. And some sand there, and a very loose moment for Zilic. Don't believe he had any contact with the 24. It's held tightly down to the bottom, got the two tires up on the curbing, but nearly got away from him. Big slides like that, that's going to hurt the tires, especially this early in the run. Still going to be outpacing a lot of the cars that he is around in the running order, but going to hurt his efforts in trying to get wayward through the pack. 5 laps complete. Shane Van Gisbergen is still out in front with Brent Cruz in second, Anthony Alfredo third, Taylor Gray fourth, and Parker Retzlaff rounding out the top 5 and fifth. Corey Day still sits in the 6th place position. Justin Allgaier, the series points leader, in 7th, with Jesse Love second in points, sitting 8th. Sam Mayer 9th, and Austin Hill rounding out the top 10. About to complete 6 laps out of 20 this time by now at the start-finish line, as SVG is just kind of managing his gap over the leaders behind him. In managing that gap, he is also managing tires. Not going to see a whole ton of tire fall-off today. In fact, SVG's fastest lap of the race was on lap 5, the last one completed. It was a lap time of a 77.554 mile per hour a lap. Just to put in perspective, the pole time for the NASCAR Cup Series earlier today, about 2.7 seconds faster of a lap than that just ran by these guys. And I will be surprised if the lap times we're seeing now are going to be the fastest that they'll be all day. I'm sure the lap times will pick up as the track continues to gain rubber. It gets swept off in between cautions with a clean racetrack as well. When we get later in the race, more adjustments are going to be made. The track itself not going to be going through a whole lot of adjustments necessarily. Starting in the early afternoon hours in Sonoma, California, going to be ending in the early dusk window, late afternoon hours, but not going to see a whole lot of shading around this racetrack at all. Just with where the grandstands are, the hills and the mountains of the area surrounding the track. Cars will be going through changes as they make adjustments throughout the day, but that'll be about it there. And a reminder, you can vote for who you think is going to win today in our chat poll. Shane Van Gisbergen still leading the way by a lot. Had several more votes from where we saw in the pre-race. 58% of you still taking SVG for the win. That has been about the same. It's only dropped a little. Leonard Zilic's poll has dropped a bit, down to 17%. Other has raised to 21%. Austin Hill now only 4% of the votes to go for the race win today. Regine Huddleston, thanks for tuning in. JoJo, welcome in as well. I don't know if I shouted you out yet or not. And again, many others, thanks for tuning in. See the video of Blaney and Chase getting lost as we were learning the track. Oh, yeah, you're talking about when are you talking about when Ryan Blaney was on the back of Chase Elliott's scooter prior to the race last week? Is that the video you're talking about? That was pretty funny. I did see that. Just 2 dudes on a scooter. two best friends on a scooter. Per usual, this early in a road course race with SVG leading, don't think he's showing all the cards yet as of this moment, but Brent Cruz is, needless to say, still doing a good job in that 2nd place position, not letting the 9 card get away from him. Looks like we're under caution for the first time today. There's a tire carcass laying on the racetrack. Tough to tell what area that is, but again, caution is out for the first time, and it is for the bird.
For the first time today.
Sounds like Kyle Sieg lost a tire.
So you'd say it's a technical term. Here's the result and why. LeVar stopped the Sunoco car right there, AJ. Uh-oh. Will not. Been a little deep, but Ryan Ellis behind him. It's hard to see if you got a little bit of help, but he was, LeVar Scott was full commitment. Turn 11 no matter what, and just got the right rear of Kelsey, and that's what cut it down.
The air says,
And right there.
there we go.
Yep. See you later. There's the focus. And if you're in Kelsey's position there, that is a really frustrating moment, and it happens here. We've seen it many, many times. There's nothing he can do at that point. When there's a car coming at that rate of speed to that moment in the corner, we see this often. You just have to grit and bear it and hope that it doesn't cause damage. I usually close my eyes. Well, that's a good tactic, too.
Well, you guys know, Turn 11 has had many victims of the game over the years. Lamar Scott, by the way, making his first ever start here at Sonoma in any series.
Adam, I promise you that will not be the first time we've ever seen that, and it definitely is not going to be the last time.
No doubt about it. This does, create an interesting time for a caution. Because if you want to play some games, we're about halfway through, closing on the midway point of this opening stage. So if you wanted to try to flip it or maybe get out of sequence, maybe far enough in here you got something to work with. Everybody had 3 sets of tires laying in the pit area. And I think most conventionally would say you'll want to make 2 stops. So we'll see how everybody manages this and what you do. So many options. Anytime you go road racing to maybe get out of balance, create some track position later in the race.
Definitely does, and I think Connor Zilic there definitely wants that track position right now. This open up some opportunities for him and the team to leapfrog some cars and pull some strategy to make it a lot easier than having to drive through the field.
We were riding on board there with Anthony Alfredo, and it reminds me of just how great Viking has been throughout 2026, in particular the last few weeks. They qualified top 5 last week at San Diego. Anthony didn't get the payoff. It was a good effort for Parker Retzloff, but here they are, both in the top 5 again. There's the Dude Wipes onboard camera. Really good job by Anthony Alfredo and this team of growing the organization. Didn't have the second car till December. But they are staying ahead of it and really working hard to put themselves in position for success. There's the pit road entry as you head down toward turn 11. And we talked about maybe having some options. For the most part, everybody's staying out. Going to be some takers, though. First of those to come, the only one so far, Harrison Burton.
Zilic's not one of those.
No.
What an opportunity.
That's right. He said, no, thank you. I'll stay out. We're about an hour north of San Francisco, the gorgeous Golden Gate Bridge.
Surprised Connor Zilic didn't come to pit road there, burn that set of tires. As you heard, each of these O'Reilly teams this weekend, 3 sets of tires for the race. Cup Series tomorrow, they'll have 5 sets and a 110-lap affair today against 79 laps for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series on around this 1.99-mile, 11-turn road course. Under caution, Shane Van Gisbergen, the race leader, leading every lap from the pole so far, so no lead changes to this point. Brent Cruz in second, Anthony Alfredo third, Taylor Gray fourth, Parker Retzlaff in fifth. Corey Day is sitting in the 6th place position. 7th is Jesse Love, Justin Allgaier 8th, Sam Mayer 9th, Austin Hill is in 10th with Sheldon Creed 11th, Sammy Smith 12th. And the top half of the field pretty much stayed out of the pits there, so I think Connor Zilic going to be moving up any more spots. Picked up 9 positions on that initial start of the race from 30th to 21st before the yellow came out. Field bunched together, maybe a quicker opportunity to get a handful more before the next caution or green flag pit stops, which will be coming late in the stage. Pit road closes with 2 laps to go when the race leader gets to the start-finish line for 2 to go in each stage 1 and stage 2. So if you're going to flip the stage, you're going to have to come a little bit early. 3 or 4 laps to go in the stage, you're going to see a bunch of them come into the pits. Even with this caution coming out where it's at, it's just the lack of cars pitting, just trying to get that much closer to the field window to trying to make this race on 2 stops. Track long enough, you're not going to be able to go all the way towards the end of stage 2 to be able to make this race on 1 stop, so you're hoping that when you get towards the end of stage number 2, you can save a little bit of fuel during the stage caution. If we get any yellows, for incident, in stage 3, you can save it there, but you're going to be right on the cusp of making it on those 2 stops. Stage 3 is going to be interesting whether or not they can actually get back racing and make it on fuel to the end of the stage with the lengths of the stages the way they are. 34 laps going to be about as far as you can go. The caution laps in there probably going to be closer to 29 to 31 to go, I would assume, when we actually do get running under green for stage 3, which isn't going to be all that much longer than the 25 lap second stage. So I think they're going to be able to make it those extra 5 laps or so. Pace car will be pulling off this time, and we're set to be going green at Sonoma on our first restart of the day. We're already about halfway through stage 1 next time by at the start-finish line. Shane Van Gisbergen taking what would be the outside for turn 1, inside for turns 2 and 3. Once they work their way up that gigantic hill towards turn 2 in the carousel. Pretty small, tight restart zone, and launching in the first half of it is Van Gisbergen as he gets to speed. And again, uphill they go. Well clear of Brett Cruz through the first couple of corners, and side-by-side for second may allow for SVG to get a little bit of a gap on the field again. How about a turn 2, though? Brett Cruz able to clear for second a little bit quicker than he did the initial start of the race on the 96 of Alfredo. Top 5 cars now single file, headed for turns 4A and B. SVG smooth over that curbing. Riding out wide. Cut down to the bottom of the track. Jesse Love locking the front tires up, rolling in deep to turn 7. Our first of 2 hairpins where he almost made contact with Corey Day. He was nearly 3 wide getting into that corner. Had to give a little bit of room to the 2 cars at the outside so he could make the corner himself also. And getting in there cleanly with no contact, very crucial. Not causing a spin or chaos for the rest of the field ensuing behind, as well as no risk of puncturing a tire. Big block by Corey Day on the 7 of Justin Allgaier, who does sneak to the inside. Very tight through turn 11. That wall that was installed there for last season's races at Sonoma. Part of causing an incident in last year's weekend events that the O'Reilly and Cup Series had at Sonoma. Saw somebody else smoking the tires. They were working uphill through turns 1 and 2. And it looks like it might have been the 32 of Ross Chastain who had a left front tire smoking on the left front fender of his race car. It does look like that left front fender is caved in just a bit after contact on the first lap after the restart. Not sure exactly who he made contact with, but definitely happened somewhere on the track. He's also got a donut on the right side number of his car. Came from contact from the car that he was battling side by side through the S's with. Position-wise, I mentioned already about that being the toughest area of the track to run side-by-side. Exhibit A right there. A little bit of a door swipe going on. First couple of laps into this restart, Connor Zilic up a few more spots to 18th place. Up 12 positions from the start of the race where he began in 30th. 7 laps to go yet in the stage this time by. And again, pit road is going to open pretty shortly here. I would imagine we might start to actually see stops right around the 5 to go mark in the stage. Jeb Burton doing a little bit of off-roading. Again in turn 3, same spot that Brandon Jones ended up going off course in the opening laps of the race. Jeb Burton slipped 2 tires off right on the entrance to turn 3A, and it just sucked him all the way off. And now we got another car spinning. Barely keeping it off the wall in turn 4A. Really, it just looked like Jeb Burton was trying to arc the corner off to get into turn 3A, and he got too far to the right. And once he clipped those tires up into the dead grass, there was no getting back on course without off-roading it a little bit. I don't know who that was well wide in turn 4, but might have been contact that caused another spin towards the back of the pack, perhaps. First full green flag lap after the restart. Shane Van Gisbergen put down his fastest lap of the race at lap 13. Same for Brett Cruz and Brett Cruz and Parker Retzlaff inside the top 5. Justin Allgaier back in 6th place also set his fastest lap of the race at lap 13. So with a heat cycle on the tires after a caution and quite a few green flag laps in this one, only 2 laps of yellow with that lone caution for debris off of Kyle Sieg in the 28 car. Tire coming apart, the right rear down around the S's. He was very close to getting to the entrance of pit road before that tire carcass did come off, warranting the first yellow. Right in the middle of the racetrack, had to cause a caution for that, or call a caution for it if you're NASCAR. No way around that giant piece of debris right in the middle of the racing line. Definitely been some trouble spots around this racetrack in the early going, but for the most part, between on-track activity for Cup and now O'Reilly Auto Parts Series action today, seems like Turn 3A has been the biggest point of emphasis. We also saw quite a few problems in the kink down in Turn 10 in Cup Series action earlier. Yet to see that in the O'Reilly race as well. Brandon Jones slow on the racetrack and trying to nurse his number 20 Toyota Supra back to pit road, which he just got out of Turn 10, so he should be able to get there. But it looks like Jones down on power as he coasts it towards the entrance of pit lane. Shane Van Gisbergen just getting out of Turn 7 right now and headed for the S's with the lead. Anthony Alfredo, a couple laps after the restart, was able to take away second from Brett Cruz in the running order. So now Cruz sits in third behind the top 2. Parker Retzlaff still in fourth, and Taylor Gray rounding out the top 5 and fifth at about 3 seconds out of the race lead. 5 laps to go in stage 1 this time by for Van Gisbergen. We'll see if anybody's going to hit pit road. Leader's definitely going to stay out for another lap or 2. May start to see middle of the pack drivers pitting shortly. The ability to be able to stay on the lead lap within enough seconds of the leader around this very lengthy pit lane is going to be a little easier in stage 1 now that the caution came out right in the middle of it, bunching the field back together. So the back of the pack much closer to the front of the pack. We went green all the way through the stage, and SVG was just able to outpace a lot of cars. There was a very high probability that we were only going to see maybe half the field split in strategy, but we might see more than that now. That you don't have to risk going a potential lap down in the process of trying to pull off the strategy games with the pit sequencing. Be sure to hit the like button on the stream if you haven't done so yet. Our like goal is to get to 50 for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race here today. Our live commentary coverage will be full flag-to-flag action. We're at 20 likes, just shy of halfway to get to our goal right now. We got well more than that watching, so be sure to hit that like button again. And Pit Boss Food Max 250 at Sonoma continues here late in the stage. We'll take a quick break for the first time. I would imagine this time by we're definitely going to see some cars hit pit road. And yes, indeed we do. Connor Zillich is on his way in.
Do the stage switch here, but do it early enough, Parker. You get one quick lap on tires. Compared to the other guys, you can jump them and get further up the field on this next restart.
Carson Waffle also making a pit stop. Schedule a green flag stop, you got to believe here. As you said, to flip the stage, gain some track position as we advance to the start of stage 2, Dylan.
Yeah, and even if they go back out here and just kind of cruise to finish this stage and try to save some tires, they're going to be in a great spot when we restart in stage 2. Saw the chassis adjustment in the back window for the 1 to help with that loose condition for tires and fuel, Kim.
You see Carson Quaffle in that 91 car. He said the car feels good, just feels like he's losing the most time through the S's.
I got to tell you, Carson Waffle has done an outstanding job. 5 consecutive top 10 finishes. That's the best run he's ever been on in his career. And he's done it with 3 different cars. He drives the 1, he drives the 9 for Junior Motorsports. This is his last start in the 91 for DGM as he puts all the pieces together to run full time.
Shane Van Gisbergen does not pit this time by. He's just coming to get 3 laps to go in the stage. So I would imagine we will see SVG pit the following lap. Which of these O'Reilly Auto Parts Series regulars is going to try to go for the stage points is going to be the question and get a stage win. Looking at the drivers in the running order right now, Anthony Alfredo outside that chase cut line. Parker Retzlaff right above it. Brent Cruz, first driver out. Sheldon Creed on pit road.
Problem here. Sheldon Creed is in, Dylan.
Zillage just started the parade of cars down pit road to flip this stage. Sheldon Creed just came to the radio and said that he needs more grip and help in turns to the right, chassis adjustment for tires and fuel tank.
And for
Sam Mayer in the pits also.
just overall tight, need to open up the entry in turn 11. That's where he's losing the most lap time for Mayer.
So both of the Haas Automation Chevrolets coming in with several others. Sammy Smith, William Sewald also on pit road. Few others a little bit further back in the pack. Connor Zillage on his way back in a second time.
Through before road was.
So it sounds like pit road penalty for Connor Zillage. Might have been speeding in the pits on that first stop. He comes through to take the pass through. And now the race leader, Shane Van Gisbergen, will pit coming to 2 to go on the stage.
Good coming in. And he'll close pit road. Here he is, Kim.
Not giving up the lead to flip the stage. Shane, though, saying the car's good right now. In fact, Richie Philip Bell asking, is the rear lateral any better than yesterday? Because that's what he struggled with in practice. Shane saying, yes, really good, just managing. So not good for the rest of the field to hear that the leader was just managing through that first 18 laps.
Not surprised by that. That's what we figured he was doing, sort of managing those tires in that race car.
So Van Gisbergen pulls away, and we'll see where he cycles. But these guys have stayed out.
Got a battle for the stage win going on as of the moment between Anthony Alfredo and Brent Cruz in the 19. So a couple of good battles towards the end of stages 1 and 2 last weekend in Sonoma in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race, or I should say San Diego, not Sonoma. This week at Sonoma. Anthony Alfredo in the 96 was actually battling another JGR Toyota towards the end of a stage, Taylor Gray, and Taylor Gray ended up winning that stage with a little bit of a bump and run maneuver. Brent Cruz knows where he's at in points, and he is just so much deeper in the braking zone in turn number 11 in comparison to Anthony Alfredo. Gained a ton of time, still picked up the throttle in a decent spot that the 96 car ultimately lost ground. He's got one full lap to try to get the job done. We'll see if the 18-year-old can overtake the series veteran Anthony Alfredo. Fast pasta. Passes are tough to make on road courses. This one a very tight road course when it comes to how much space that there is inside of the racetrack to the outside of total asphalt to work with. Really only 2 or 3 passing zones per se around this racetrack. Coming up on one right now, but Cruz slipped the tires up out of 4B. Lost too much ground down into turn 7 to try to make a pounce, and now he's going to have to work in the S's very hard to get that ground back and have a fighting opportunity into turn 11 where he was able to outbrake and outmaneuver Alfredo the last lap to gain time. But I'm afraid he might be a little bit too far back for that desperation move. Alfredo putting a little bit more time on him, it looks like, through the S's as well. And as across the start-finish line to get the first green-white checkered flag of the day, Anthony Alfredo for Viking Motorsports will win stage number 1. By about a half a second over Brent Cruz, the rookie, in second. Taylor Gray third. Parker Retzlaff fourth. And Corey Day rounding out the top 5 in fifth. Austin Hill in 6th. 7th place in the stage, Ross Chastain. Will Rogers 8th. Josh Bilicki 9th. And Alex LeBay round out the top 10. All receiving stage points, 1 point per position for the top 10. 10 points from first down to 1 point for 10th. Only took about 30 minutes to get through the opening stage of today's race. That was even with one caution that we had for debris, which yielded for 2 caution laps. Second yellow now, the stage caution here at lap 20. Stage 2 will end at lap 45, so a little bit longer of a second stage than what we had for the first, but take the caution laps out of it for what we're going to run now. It's only going to be a couple laps longer altogether for green flag laps. Reminder on the channel, before tomorrow's NASCAR Cup race starts, you can not only do the Fantasy League on the NASCAR.com website or the NASCAR mobile app, you can join the KRC League that we play all season long, but the NASCAR In-Season Tournament Challenge will begin tomorrow as well at Sonoma. So lineups are going to lock, and brackets will lock for that about 5 minutes before the drop of the green flag for tomorrow's Toyota Save Mart 350. 32 drivers in the bracket, seeded 1 through 32. It'll be 5 races. And obviously head-to-head battles, driver versus driver. All it simply takes is to beat that driver you're matched up with to move on to the next round. $1 million grand prize will be going to the in-season tournament champion. If you fill out a free bracket on NASCAR.com and it happens to be perfect, you will also win an additional $1 million. So we got $1 million on the line for the fans. Guaranteed $1 million going to one of the drivers that can win this tournament. Ty Gibbs, the winner of the in-season tournament inaugural season last year, and we'll see who's going to win it this season. Coincidentally enough, Ty Gibbs will be on the pole for tomorrow's Cup race as well, so he's off to a good start in his matchup for this week. End of stage 1. We'll take a quick break. You're listening live on KRC. Our full flag-to-flag coverage of today's race continues. So again, still a long ways to go yet here this afternoon as we're just getting started. Had one of the longer races of the season last weekend across all 3 series in San Diego. But this week for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, a relatively short race of only 79 laps. This is the shortest road course on the circuit of the 4 across the series, counting the street course last weekend in San Diego, which was the longest of a 3.6-mile layout. This one, 1.99 miles. A little bit shorter than the newer Coda configuration that we ran in Austin back in March. The reconfiguration of their racetrack. And we should see some more pit stops when pit road opens this time. I wouldn't be shocked if anybody that did not pit at the end of the last stage chooses to stay out, keep some track position, and maybe try to stretch the window. I guess if they absolutely can't make it, then we won't see any of them stay out again.
And Monsters in theaters on Wednesday. Get tickets now. Fun week in California for NASCAR. Last week, San Diego. This weekend, Sonoma. Southern California to Northern California. Stage 1 is done, and pit stops are happening, Dylan.
First pit box is Taylor Gray. Said the balance was good. I was just trying to stay under the tire. Jason Ratcliffe, the crew chief, said turn 3A is where we're losing the most time. Arthur Retzloff needs lateral grip. He said, I am out of control. They'll make a track bar adjustment and air pressure change. Kim?
Dylan, his teammate, also needs lateral grip. In fact, Anthony's saying lost left rear lateral in certain areas, then lost front turn in other areas. The team, though, is going to focus on that left rear lateral. See them finishing up that stop right there. And then for Brett Cruz, who is at the very last box before exit, just said 0 lateral grip and lacking drive off. It's going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco Q.
Race off Progressive Pit Road is not for the race lead, so many had flipped the stage. First off here is going to be Taylor Gray. Cruz comes off right behind, and Anthony Alfredo wins the stage and drops 2 on the pit lane.
So to repeat, Anthony Alfredo wins stage number 1. Taylor Gray wins the race off pit road. Both those drivers going to be starting mid-pack at best on this restart after staying out to get those points. Versus the field that decided to flip stage 1, not take any points. We had enough drivers obviously stay out on the racetrack to get those stage points. That of the drivers who did pit, none of them finished at the top of the top 10 to get any points there in that last stage. So I believe Shane Van Gisbergen will be the leader again when we get to this next restart. For those that had hit pit road, Brent Cruz, who was riding in the second place position early, got passed by Alfredo a couple laps after the lone restart of stage one, and that what pretty much gave the stage win to Alfredo of those that stayed out of the pits. Justin Allgaier was the next driver in the running order behind SVG at the end of the last stage, and Allgaier was running in 6th place before pit stop started. Allgaier's got that massive regular season points lead, 224. Coming into this weekend, again, only 7 races to go in the regular season after today's race for the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Only one off week for this series so far this season. Next week, headed to Chicagoland, where the trucks will be off again, but the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series as well as the NASCAR Cup Series will be back in action. And it'll be the first race weekend in Chicagoland Speedway on the 1.5 mile oval in Joliet, Illinois, since 2019. I was actually at the last Cup race in Chicago. Chicagoland specifically. 400-mile race on a Sunday evening for the Cup Series. That race will be starting in the daylight hours, finishing in the night on Sunday next week. And for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series on Saturday, taking a look at the start time there. Start time for next weekend's O'Reilly Auto Parts race will be at about 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So same start time we had on the Eastern time zone as this week. And that will be a 300-mile, 200-lap race, per usual for the 1.5 mile racetracks in this series. Very low grip. The last time we were at Chicagoland, the fact that that track is going to be aged another 7 years, it's going to make for a lot of exciting racing, a lot of high tire fall off in that one, and just low grip in general. Should be a fun watch across the 2 series racing there next week. Can't wait for it. That was one of the better 1.5 mile tracks on the schedule at the time it had left, and I'm sure it's going to return in the same format. Maybe even take over as the best one. We'll have to wait and see. Robert Goodrich, thanks for tuning in. Can't wait until SVG gets an oval win. It may very well happen. It's possible. He's led laps on ovals. Is qualifying better? I've noticed a lot of the flatter ovals have been kind of his strong suit. Got a lot more of them coming up in the summer months. Early chase window, Gateway, New Hampshire. New Hampshire, he qualified top 10 in the Cup race last year. Ran there all of stage 1 before a spin, being a little too aggressive on a battle and a restart. It's been great on the drafting ovals as well, leading laps at Talladega, Daytona, and Atlanta this year. We'll go to Atlanta in a couple weeks.
Parts, your professional parts people. Stage 1 complete in Sonoma, California. The stage break brought to you by Arby's. We'll look at the stage points. Some names up there that are chasing it. I looked down at Austin Hill. Got the win last week. They still feel like they can make a late regular season run, get up top 2, 3 to end it. And with the reset, that would be huge. So they get 5 stage points here. And if there's anyone who knows the value of a good crew, it's the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. That's why they want to put the spotlight on the pit crew members that are essential to a race team's success. Here's Dylan.
And we will spotlight Tanner Muse. You see him there on the screen, native of Belmont, North Carolina. Like many of these guys down here on pit road, a former college athlete, played 4 years of football at Clemson as a defensive back, won 2 national championships there before getting drafted to the NFL by the Raiders, then spent 5 seasons in the NFL. He played for a few different teams, among them the Raiders, as mentioned, and also the Pittsburgh Steelers you see there. So great to have him down on pit road. There's several of those great collegiate athletes on that Sam Hunt racing crew, and this is just one of them, the 29-year-old native of Belmont, North Carolina.
Really, really cool story. Thank you for that, Dylan. So the drivers that came down pit road into the stage, Taylor Gray, first off, he is 15th prior to the choose. So 14 guys stay out. And those guys that came down under caution, Harrison Burton, Blaine Perkins, will be 1, 2 here. Shane Van Gisbergen, so good to start the race from the pole. third.
All right, so the front row stayed out. Harrison Burke, Blaine Perkins have not yet been to pit road. Shane Van Gisbergen will be the first of those that have pitted. He pitted before the end of the last stage. He'll be in row 2 with Jesse Love on the same strategy as him. Green flag is back in the air. Blaine Perkins in the 31 to the lead, and maybe an opportunity for somebody to get by SVG with a couple cars in front of him. Though Van Gisbergen up the hill, working his way to the inside for second quickly on Harrison Burton. Mostly double wide through the first couple of corners and worked them their way now 3 wide further back in the pack around Corey Day. In the 17, that's outside the top 10 where that's going on. SVG got clear into second, a little bit wide up out of turn 4B, but keeps the car on course. Here's Burton trying to hold on for dear life right now, and a big wheel hop by the 7 of Allgaier, and he is going to go around. And he is off in the sand trying to get rolling again, but he's going to have to wait for most of the field to pass by before he can get back on course and turn around the correct direction. Well, he's got a big points lead, so there's that for him, but a rough week last week and another start here this week with no stage points in stage 1, and now the spin on the restart, all of his own doing after wheel hopping into turn 7. Pass for the race lead down at the bottom of the hill in turn 11 on the opening lap following the restart to begin stage 2. Shane Van Gisbergen back out in front as he gets by Perkins, who was only able to lead under caution. Perkins does complete the lap at second. Jesse Love is hounding him now up the hill into turn 2 for that second place position. Wider arc on the entry into the corner, beating him down in the braking zone with the fresher tires, and Jesse Love is clear for P2. Yeah, big spin for Allgaier. He was actually right there with Love and SVG on the restart up inside the top 10 and then just went for a spin. He was in the middle of 3 wide, was pressing hard to try to outbreak Sam Mayer, Sammy Smith, and other cars around him, and went around, tried a little bit too hard. Gonna clip the right front fender of the car to his outside as he was working his way into that said braking zone. Hopefully no damage to cut a tire down there. 7 car caught back up with the tail end of the field now. We'll look to try to get as much of this track position back before we get into pit stops towards the end of the second stage, which could be the final pit stops of the day. They work their way down to the bottom of the hill. We'll be on lap 7 of stage 2 this time by.
Sammy Smith's been in the top 5. Sheldon Creed is there, and joining them now, the one of course. In fact, the cut was 12 prior to the choose, so you restart outside the top 10, but he's made some nice gains early in the run. Got a couple right in front of him. Which way do you go? Flopper right there as well.
He's trying to make that decision right now in real time. Which way to go here? Now on the outside is Sheldon Creed, the 3A and the 3B on the inside. Should effectively make the pass, and he does.
Hey, celebrate Austin Green, our Powerball Power Blippers. It's plus 28 today. Backup car from the back after a huge crash yesterday in practice.
And for Connor Zillich, even with that speeding penalty when they flipped the stage, being able to pit again or do the drive-through effectively was a net gain steal for him. He had come in from 15th, ends up 12th on the restart. That was a net gain.
Yeah, so fortunate that they chose with 4 to go to make that pit stop, because if they didn't and he got that speeding penalty with 3 to go, pit road would have been closed next time by. So a huge kind of mistake, but also fortunate that they did it at the right time, and now he's battling for the top 5.
That dude needs something to go his way. And now we're looking at some drivers that made pit stops after running it long into the stage.
Corey Day. It's just a wrecking ball.
Perfect.
Down at turn 11.
And Alfredo, they were basically 3 wide and bouncing all off of each other down in the braking zone. That really hurt Anthony as he had to go around Blaine Perkins, lost a couple of positions.
Corey Day got pretty aggressive in that exchange.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, take a look here. So there goes Corey Day to the inside. Anthony tried to block, but it gets the back of Williams Zawalich, who gets squeezed by Blaine Perkins. It's like 3 cars into 1, AJ.
Yeah, and that's as Anthony Alfredo tried to block the inside. Corey Day kind of stuffed it down there, made an aggressive pass. And by the time Anthony got to the brake pedal, as you can see, just nothing malicious. Gets into the back of the 18, which gets into the back of the 31.
And Blaine Perkins is like, what the heck? I wasn't doing anything wrong. Really worked out well for Brett Cruz and Ross Chastain. We were able to sting through, no damage, and pick up a couple of positions. And now the battle for the lead. Jesse Love not letting SVG get away at the front. And Zillage continues the ride. Down under Harrison Burton. That's going to be up to fourth place now, Parker. Getting closer to the front. Almost hear the music start. The Jaws music going
there. Also, the driver he just went by, Harrison Burton, hanging on. Oh, I just was gonna say. Oh, that's a commentator's curse right there. Off in one. That's a high-speed place to go off. Harrison Burton. He was doing such a good job hanging on up there with the strategy they employed, but now he's gonna have to sit here and basically let the whole field go by before he can pull away. See right here, I think he gets a little possibly. That's super tight. Looked like Harrison maybe got just a little loose as he turned in for turn one there, Parker. Checked up. And Sammy Smith may have just touched him.
But, he did it at lap 9. He can't, so those tires are a little older than some of these other guys.
He was potentially just trying to keep up with Zillage in front of him, oversped it a little bit.
Looking
Really
at it again,
unfortunate. He was doing such a good job.
Looking at it again, looks like he just got a bit free in the turn one there. Saw a car just going out of our shot. It was Ross Chastain who's got a problem.
I believe he headed out to the
Down near the drag strip.
drag strip area. There's flames underneath the car. That was down in turn 4.
Well, I got to tell you, there have been some hiccups here for Jordan Anderson Racing. We've seen Jet Burton off, problems for the 32. Blaine Perkins went around at turn 11. And stuff at the front.
I'm watching Ross come down the drag strip right now outside our window. So that's confirmed he's in the middle of the racetrack.
Closing on the halfway point of stage 2, SVG in front of Love, Mayer Zillage, and Sammy Smith. And we get our second caution of the day for an incident, third overall of the afternoon. Fluid on track.
Yeah, and here's Ross. He's been coming down the drag strip that runs alongside the front stretch. That would have been a very weird visual moment for any drivers coming down the front stretch to see a car on the other side coming towards them.
I'll be honest.
I didn't even knew
Hats off to Ross for knowing how to get back. I've been completely lost. For your sake, I hope you don't have to discover that tomorrow, my man.
Something in there that's amazing.
Chastain knows the shortcuts at Sonoma. Caution is out. SVG leads.
All right, Shane Van Gisbergen, the race leader, under caution for the third time today, second for incident, as there was some fluids left on the racetrack from Ross Chastain, who had something of a little bit of a fire, might have been an oil fire, coming out from underneath the race car. Said fire was put out as he was still rolling his way downhill back towards pit road, but with fluid left behind on the racing surface. NASCAR gonna throw the caution and get some speedy dry out there before the leaders were able to make their way back around the area of the racetrack where Chastain had pulled off with that issue. So under caution, Shane Van Gisbergen, the race leader, Jesse Love in second, Sam Mayer third, Connor Zillage in fourth, Harrison Burton was in fifth, but then went for a spin, so it's going to be actually Sammy Smith now rounding out the top 5 and fifth. 30 laps complete out of 79 in today's O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race at Sonoma Raceway. Almost halfway through stage 2 already, just a couple more laps away from that. And our live commentary coverage of this one obviously continues on. Zillage got another 8 spots on that last restart to go from 12th to 4th. And he was 5 seconds off of the race leader, Shane Van Gisbergen. Remember, SVG started on pole. Connor Zillage all the way back in 30th. And it's taken him nearly half the race to get towards the front of the pack. But he is about there. ARCA race on FS2 at 9 p.m. I think that's a rerun because I believe the ARCA race was actually yesterday. I think they ran an ARCA race yesterday, and then the rerun of that is later tonight. I won't spoil it for you, though, if you don't know who won. All right. While we're under caution, we'll take another break here. You're listening live on KRC. Our full coverage continues here on the channel. We get to the end of stage 2, we'll have our diecast showing again. And then the chat poll will close at the end of stage 2 for who you think is going to win today's race. 71% of you taking SVG for the win. That has grown a lot. That was at 57% the last we had looked at the voting poll, but again, now up to 71% as he has led pretty darn close to every lap of this race so far. Connor Zilic at 12%, though he's up to 4th. 15% of you say somebody other than SVG, Zilic, or Hill will get the win. Austin Hill at just 2% of the votes as of this moment.
Playing today. Visit Progressive.com. And by Toyota. Let's go places. Full disclosure, I'm not a travel agent, but I will tell you, if you come to Northern California, go to San Francisco, you got to do the Alcatraz tour. There's so much history at that place. I mean, you think about Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, and here's what's shocking to me as we put the facts up. I did not realize a 25-acre island. That's pretty unbelievable.
It's a pretty heavy place. If you go for the tour,
It is.
got there and I thought immediately, I need to get out of here. So,
Yeah.
pretty wild.
Now we do a replay brought to you by Progressive. Save when you bundle motorcycle, RV, and boat insurance. Visit Progressive.com. Harrison Burton going for a run-up in turn 1.
And it was unfortunate because he was running so well on this alternate strategy, was up in the top 5. This is the type of thing where if you employ a strategy like that, you just have to do your best to limit the damage, not do something like this, and unfortunately lost it there down into turn 1. That whole strategy has been flipped upside down, but he was doing a great job until then.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, to be, I mean, essentially he had 7 to 8 like older tires than everybody, and he had good pace in it. And that's what you're hoping in that strategy here. Front, show that you have good speed in it, but just to reset and try to get from the back.
All the fluid on track from Ross Chastain. Cleanup continues. We get in another break. It's over 10 laps to go. Stage 2 at Sonoma for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series.
Cleanup continues for Ross Chastain, bringing out the last caution for fluid being put down on the racetrack. Shane Van Gisbergen is still the race leader, as just like we saw with the midway caution stage 1, a lot of the leaders still staying out. Fuel window to make it to the end of the race likely not open right now. The idea on road courses, especially to that of Sonoma, where you have very little tire fall off, you definitely want to be up the first to pit last, so that way when you're on the lead lap, everything cycles through, and you don't have to worry about the older tires being a disadvantage when cycling back to the front of the pack. If you're already at the front, to keep that track position, if the caution comes out in the middle of the green flag run, you know you can just stay out of the pits. You're good on field to the end. Tires will hold up. And those that had stayed out to try to maybe get a little bit fresher tires are going to be very, very deep in the field and not really have enough time to get there, nor the tire life to be able to do so as well. Halfway to our goal of 50 likes on the stream. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe for more NASCAR content along the way. Live commentary streams every weekend for Truck, O'Reilly, and Cup Series Racing. Truck Series off this week. They're actually going to be off for the next couple weeks. July 11th at Lime Rock Park for a road course race for their own, which would be actually the last across the top 3 series on the schedule. But Lime Rock Park will be the next race on the truck schedule, July 11th. So off this week, off next week in Chicagoland. They're also going to be off the following week when NASCAR heads to Atlanta to have that standalone event in Lime Rock on the East Coast in the state of Connecticut. Second consecutive year the trucks will be there. So Connor Zilch going to restart up around Road 2 now. This will be interesting. See how things go. I'm going to refresh my page here. It's still showing Harrison Burton in 5th, which I know is not the case after he went off-roading. Unless he is still in 5th and actually didn't lose any positions out of that. But well, he went for a spin. So, yeah, he's definitely not up there anymore. I think either the leaderboard is frozen or the timing and scoring on Harrison Burton specifically is not quite accurate. Top half dozen for the next restart. We'll have Shane Van Gisbergen in the lead, Jesse Love in 2nd, Sam Mayer 3rd, Connor Zilch 4th, Sammy Smith 5th, and then Sheldon Creed will be in 6th, with Burton being at the back of the field. After Justin Allgaier had spun on the last restart, he had only worked his way up to 29th at the back end of the pack, but luckily with the caution, he's got an opportunity to get more of those back before pit stops, versus he probably wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
The O'Reilly Auto Parts Series live in Sonoma, California. Today it's the Pit Boss Food Maxx 250. Here's Kim Kuhn.
Yeah, Carson Quapple behind the 91 for the final time this season. Currently running in the 7th position, and he's typically sporty when we come on road courses, but he's got a little bit of a driver coach in his ear. Take a listen to our in-car courtesy of Starkey.
A weird person. I feel like you have a little bit of throttle lean there. Or that you slow down first left hander and then have a little throttle to try to drive it right hand.
Decipher that, AJ. I'm trying to think about what they're trying to talk about. As they get into A, you're just trying to, I think, maybe not to arc 9 as much, so you can kind of throttle straight to it, carry a little bit more entry speed. But Ron Fellow's really good, so that's not a bad guy to go off of.
12 to go, stage 2. Front row, SVG, Jesse Love.
Sam Mayer got the rear bumper there at SVG. SVG spun the tires a little bit, gave Jesse Love an opportunity here up the hill.
Van Gisbergen inside lane, turn 2.
Yes, he just couldn't quite hang to the outside of SVG.
About to battle for 3rd, Mayer and Zillich. Side by side to turn 4.
This is so hard for Sam Mayer being under Connor Zillich. Your car wants to get super loose on corner entry there. Connor can hang the outside through 7 here. He'll get that straight line. He clears Sam Mayer for 3rd.
We had 3 wide behind them there. Corey Day, Austin Hill. Anthony Alfredo looked at making a 4 wide, thought better of it. He tried to get by there, Corey Day, into 9.
Zillich to the back to 3rd. He's done it in 30, just over 30 laps with a speeding penalty.
See Carson Quapple get just a little bit deep as everybody started checking up for the hairpin. Did a good job just to barely get into the back of Sheldon Creed.
That's who he's fighting right there with, is Austin Green in a backup car. Yesterday he had a horrific crash when he lost his brakes down into turn 11. He's never driven this backup. It's not even his seat. This is really RCR's primary backup that he's using here. So a lot to adjust to, but up in the top 10 doing a great job.
Well, in that duo now under attack from those drivers ran long in stage 1, ended at the end of the stage. Taylor Gray, Brent Cruz, Austin Hill a part of that mix.
I think you're going to see these drivers be super aggressive at the end of this stage, because I would feel like as we got a battle for 2nd here, best friends, Connor Zillich, Jesse Love. But Parker, I really think if you want a chance to win this race, run at the top 5, you're not going to run long at the stage and run it out, and you're going to short pit. So every position means something in this stage.
Well, it's that plus fuel strategy. Now, there is, fuel concerns for some of these teams. Some are sort of confident they can make it from that point if you put this stage. Some are thinking they cannot. So it's going to really come down to what fuel mileage they saw in stage one and what they're thinking. But let's get more on the one for Dylan.
Yeah, well, partner, you're right. That's the concern for the one of Zillage. They got the track commission now, but they just came on the radio and said that their plan is to try to run this out to the end of stage 2 here for exactly that reason. Just want to make sure they give themselves enough of a buffer in stage 3, and especially if we get a green-white checkered or anything of that sort. It's very close for several of these teams, and that's on the radar certainly for all of them at this point in the race.
And Dylan, that has definitely been a trend this season. These junior motorsports cars not quite getting the fuel mileage they had even maybe a year ago. We know how successful they've been. Sometimes when you make horsepower, AJ, could it use a little more fuel?
Well, yeah, and they got a lot more grip than most of the cars.
Oh, so you definitely are in the throttle. That's what it is.
Look at this battle for position. Cruz had gotten by Gray to be the best of those that ran it along at the end of stage 1. We were 8th and 9th on track.
Yeah, we heard Grant Cruz talking about at the end of that stage that he just doesn't have that lateral grip that he's looking for. Parker, it seems like as he's fighting it right now, he can't get in the corners like he wants, but he really can't attack the throttle on exits.
You see it. I've seen this car have some really hellacious wiggles and slides at times on the exit of the corners like you're referencing. So definitely just feels like that car's probably out of the racetrack in the rear, and they're going to continue to try to make adjustments on it. But this track is finicky this weekend. You mentioned about Cup. It got faster for some reason Cup qualified, but some of these drivers saying it's less grip than last year. It's really tough to really put your finger on exactly how this track is reacting.
Pit boss onboard camera, riding with California native Shelton Breed. He gets Sammy Smith just tied together since the restart, really. 5th and 6th, right in front of Quample.
Ballet dance here on the pit can, Parker. I find this so cool to watch. It's almost mesmerizing in some respects to see all 3 of these screens combined. What a driver is doing there with their feet, with their hands. You see a lot of tapping in the braking areas just to make sure the pads are against the rotors. Roger just kind of lay on it a little bit there, rolling into turn 10. Gets off it, feeds the throttle so gently down into turn 11, hard on the brakes. And you see the modulation as he gets down to the center of the corner. It's the initial stab of the brake as hard as you want it, the highest pressure you'll have, and then it modulates to the point of the apex of the corner.
8 to go, stage 2, SVG leading. It's time to go full throttle with sound gear. Wherever sound is a problem, Sound Gear has the solution. Scan the QR code to learn more at soundgear.com. Turn it up. Here a year ago, when you think about caution counts, 3 cautions today, 1 for the yellow that came out to end the opening stage. And so now you start thinking about where are we on the long run? And when you're out front like Shane Van Gisbergen is, you can kind of manage things, but he's now got Connor Zillage behind him, the one overcoming some adversities to put himself in position as we head toward the end of his second stint in the race.
Yeah, this is where Shane is so good. Connor, a few laps ago, set the Xfinity fast lap. We thought, okay, Connor's starting to run down. Last lap, SVG 610 quicker. Connor's responded. So, there's always that game, and you can tell Connor's pushing really hard to try to get to him, and I still feel like James Van Gisbergen is just managing.
Well, I think I heard when we were on sound gear full throttle there, I heard on the onboard with Shane, the downshift's being a little bit more aggressive. And that's the notification to me that takes things a little more seriously. He sees the one that's gotten there. Now it's trying to send a message of how do we stack up? What is my full pace compared to him? If he starts to run me down, he knows that's his most likely number one competitor here today, just like it was last year. He's got to have to respond to that and start to push this car and know what he needs to tell his crew chief to do changes-wise when we get to this final stop, potentially final stop, to say, hey, this is going to be the adjustment I need to beat the one.
I'm curious, too, to see how the strategy plays for everybody. Dylan talked about the game plan for the one. Fuel mileage, certainly a big part of the conversation in the garage area earlier today. Then you factor in what everybody did there management-wise into stage one, chasing points. A whole lot to think about. Sammy Smith, Sam Mayer, with Sheldon Creed right behind him. This before him.
Parker, this gets super tight through the S's. His elbows out right here. Start hip checking at times through those S's. It gets frustrating. Sheldon Creed's running 6 behind these two. Like, would you guys just make a decision? Because I'm going to go by both of you.
Maybe have a big run on his teammate right here from the inside. His teammate tries to block.
Out on the door's going to be shut. Creed sneaks in there. Flopple wants a piece. Rick Cruz there in the 19.
And this is where it gets difficult for somebody like Sam Mayer. You're running fourth. That car starts getting under you. You got about 3 to 4 cars behind you. It feels like that train never ends. Kind of got to get your mind reset, refocus.
Get back in rhythm there as he hits the inside curb in 2. Cars start bouncing. But yeah, this place is really about rhythm, too. If you get out of that, it can take you a couple of corners to get back into the field, exactly where those tires are at, where the track is at grip-wise. And when you get shoved to the outside there at 10, like you said, you're hanging on a little bit. You have to reset her as he's trying to hold off Brent here to 7.
Cruz little fresher tires. Sneaking to the inside. 19 proving to be good over the long haul here in stage 2.
Ooh. Sam's having deja vu from the lap before with the 8.
Look at this off track. I mean, just off-road, make it work. But a little loss of momentum. Here comes the 91 Carson Kvapil.
And as a driver there, Brent Cruz knows I'm on the inside of him. There's not a lot of grip to the outside of me. So if I just lean on him a little bit, it gets him wide. You're able to make that pass. Sam Mayer has lost 5 spots in 2 laps here, trying to get one of them back here on Taylor Gray.
Sam will not have appreciated that, but there's nothing he could do at that point when Brent gets into his door through those S's. And when you end up side by side and you're sort of on the defense to those S's, there's just not a lot you can do to respond to that moment as he gets into Taylor Gray here a little bit. His elbow's out for Sam Mayer.
Starting to see pit stops flipping the stage. 87, Austin Green is in, Kim.
Yeah, and that backup car on Lynn from RCR. Also saying car feels good. He does need just a little bit more rear security than choosing to flip this stage. So either crew chief Jody Meesmart feels good about their fuel mileage or maybe predicting some cautions in the last stage to stretch it. You saw that chassis adjustment as the other side of tires go on and fuel in the race car.
Yeah, I think I said this earlier, but Kim references maybe coming a 3rd time. All these teams should have 3 sets of sticker tires laying. So even if you flip the stage here, stay out at the end of the stage, with a longer final stage, cautions fall right, you would have a sticker set laying if you wanted to come back. And, when I look at our bumper, the other thing to point out, Junior Motorsports had won 11 straight races on the road. That was snapped last week by RCR. They got 3 in the top 4 here. And here comes Taylor Gray. Scheduled green flag pit stop. Anthony Alfredo won the opening stage. Flipping it here. Down to Dillon.
Only real feedback from the 54 was at the beginning of this run said he fired off tighter on sticker tires, but the car was getting better. Routine service for the 54. Cam?
And for Anthony Alfredo, also fired off tight, but then he said the car was coming to him, and they actually decided on this plan at the beginning of stage 2. Crew Chief Joshua Graham telling his driver, you did your job, meaning he won that first stage. Now I'm going to go for the win, which meant flipping the stage.
I love that mentality.
It had the speed.
So when SVG comes by in the 9, whether he does it on pit road or on the racetrack, that's going to close the pit lane. See how they manage it. And he will flip the stage, just like he did in stage 1. And just like Dylan reported, the 1 of Connor Zilic stays out. He'll run it long here. 9 is in, giving up the race lead and making his schedule stop.
Yeah, Adam, and a very interesting call by crew chief Philip Bell, because when I talked to him this morning, he said, I am absolutely worried about fuel mileage and our ability to flip this stage. We saw them do it last year, but the fuel mileage for those JRM cars has not been what it was last year. So we'll see if he's just putting confidence in his driver to be able to save enough fuel in that final stage. Shane, though, just needing a little bit more lateral. Still the same problem he's had all race and yesterday in practice.
I think they're more scared of the 1 team being in second now.
He's had good track position today. Referenced the JRM win streak on the road coming to an end last week with Austin Hill winning. That was the first win on the road for RCR when Austin Hill got it done in 10 years.
And you think back to Watkins Glen when the 2 car had some of the best fuel mileage in that final stage. If anyone was able to do an alternate strategy to put him in position to try and win and hold off Zilic and lost the final corner. But he was one of the few cars that was able to stretch his fuel that far. So if there's anyone that feels confident maybe making this work, it could be that 2 car Jesse loves.
That was one of his many heartbreaks.
Yeah, save me some fuel here, buddy. Just save me some fuel. You're not going to get the 9. Save fuel. Nobody coming out.
Stockman employing the strategy immediately. Fuel safe.
These guys are outside the top 10, but sometimes timing and scoring doesn't give you all the updates you want when everything is scattered through a cycle of green flag stops. The one thing we know for sure, Connor Zilic, the race leader, 1 to go, second stage.
This is a strategy now where, to a certain degree, Parker, Connor Zilic on this next restart can be aggressive. Some of these guys are going to have to start saving. How much? I think it varies for everybody. But Connor Zilic, although going to probably restart about 14 or 15 from how many guys we've seen pit, going to definitely have the most fuel and be the most aggressive early in the run. And I can assure you, if he's able to pull this off or even get back to the front, he will have passed most cars today. No doubt. Starting in the back, everything that's happened, the pit road speeding penalty, if he is able to pull this off, he'll have passed a ton of cars on this day. And maybe that's what gave Rodney the thought is, I saw him pass it before, try it again.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, they have the confidence to get it done. 14 drivers did flip the stage. As AJ said, you're going to be racing somewhere around 15th when we get the restart for the final stage. If you can execute on the pit lane. Behind the lap car of Josh Balicki in the 07, Connor Zilic comes back to the green and white checkered flag. 16th career stage win and his 4th stage win of the year. It's the reported victories at Bristol and Watkins Glen. Sammy Smith having a good points year, stays out, runs along, gets points. Same for Creed. Cruz does it again. Great points day when he came in below that chase cut line. Carson Quapple, 91. Every time he gets behind the wheel, whether it's the 91, the 9, the 1, whatever it is, he seems to go out and be productive. And they are again here today. So there's the duo, right? They've led laps today. We know how good they are, and we would anticipate we'll see them doing it again. And if last year is any indication, we're in the final stage. It was the 88-9 last year. Maybe today it's the 9 and the 1. They are the stars of the show. Connor Zilic, Shane Van Gisbergen. Final stage coming your way from Sonoma.
All right, Connor Zilic, your Stage 2 winner. Sammy Smith second, Sheldon Creed in third, Brent Cruz in fourth. I believe Brent Cruz getting the most stage points today. He was second in Stage 1, fourth in Stage 2. Carson Kvapil rounds out the top five and fifth with Sam Mayer in sixth, Rajah Caruth seventh, Ryan Sieg eighth. Ninth place for Alex LeBay and Will Rogers rounding out the top 10. Both Rogers and LeBay getting stage points in the first two stages of today's race. Shane Van Gisbergen in 15th should be the leader when we get to this next restart. As he had pitted before the end of the last stage, Jesse Love should be in second. So that is the running order there. I believe Taylor Gray, potentially Anthony Alfredo might have also pitted before the end of the last stage. Retzlaff, Sawalich, Corey Day are back there in the running order. So we'll see. Get to this next restart exactly how many cars will have pitted during the stage versus pitting before the stage, but not as many drivers pitted before the end of the stage, knowing that there are some concerns of potentially being able to make it on field to the end of the race from here. If they do, though, it will be the final pit stop of the day. Run a few more caution laps during the stage yellow. Gonna be right on the cusp of being able to make it. A lot of these teams were able to make it last year, even with pitting before the end of that last run. But if fuel becomes an issue or we go into overtime or anything of that nature, Shane Van Gisbergen going to have a little bit less of fuel in his car versus the likes of Connor Zilic and the rest of the field behind him, minus a couple of drivers like Jesse Love on the same strategy. Me personally, I'm not as concerned with it. Because if there's going to be anybody who knows how to make time and save fuel on a road course, Shane Van Gisbergen is going to be the guy. Since we have reached the end of stage 2, we will close off the chat poll. Justin Besaw, thanks for tuning in, as well as many others. So we'll end the chat poll. 44 of you voted for who you think is going to win today's race. Shane Van Gisbergen, by a wide margin, is the favorite via the chat poll to go for the race win. 70% of 44 votes going to SVG. 14% taking Connor Zilic. Another 14% taking somebody other than Zilic, SVG, or Austin Hill. And Hill only getting 2% of the votes. Hasn't really been up in the top 5 at all today. Usually a top 5 threat on road courses. Kind of a down race for him by road course standards, at least through the first half. But we're in the final third now, and we'll see if he comes to life. So pit road should be open this time by Connor Zilic will lead the rest of the leaders into the pit lane.
She's taking the Arby's app today. Smith ran it long, coming down the progressive pit lane. Connor Zilic lead them. Here they are, Dylan.
Decent day of stage point earning for Sammy Smith in the 8th. Said that his car wasn't terrible, just was losing rear grip. That's been the report for a lot of cars. They'll come down here, change 4 tires, and get it full of fuel. Teammate Connor Zilic said the balance was better, but I'm still a little bit looser than I'd like. Even though they ran that stage out, they are not confident they can make it to the end on fuel. Going to try to get it as full as they can and likely have to do some work behind the wheel to save as much as they can. Yeah.
You know who is confident? That's the 19 of Brent Cruz. Crew chief Seth Chopka told me his driver, we're going to be good on fuel so you can run it hard. We do not need to conserve like some of these other guys. That car feels pretty good. Just didn't have the drive off at the end of the run as the 8 had an issue on pit road.
Yeah, we'll follow up on Sammy Smith in a second.
They maybe didn't get all the lug nuts tight on that 8 car on the left rear tires. He backed up into the box enough at least to make some headway there. See, he was leaving the box. Oh, the tire started rolling away. I'm not sure if that was the tire that needed to go on the car or what the case was. We'll have to hear on that in a moment. So Shane Van Gisbergen going to be back in the lead as we begin the final stage yet again. It's going to be an interesting one. Who is going to be able to go out here and get the stage win? for the race itself at Sonoma. Get a little diecast showing in here while we're at the end of stage 2. This weekend, I got the 2004 NASCAR Cup Series champion Kurt Busch in his championship winning season from 2004, the Irwin Tools paint scheme. Always liked the Irwin colors. Jamie McMurray ran a good scheme with this. Christopher Bell, actually, even with the 20, has at times ran the Irwin paint scheme, although I don't really think he's ran it much at all since the next gen era. They need to bring it back. Irwin Tools. Big fan of the blue-yellow schemes, of course, me being a Michigan Wolverines fan. Probably having a lot to do with that, but I think it pops well in race car. And this was a big one of my childhood, of course. Kurt winning a championship in the 97 car. So it's the only Kurt Busch diecast I own as well. And I'd say a pretty good one at that. So that is our Stage 2 diecast showing for today. We'll have another one at the end of Stage 2 during the NASCAR Cup Series race tomorrow. Wait for our leaderboard to update. So race leaders get back to the start-finish line this time by. 9 car will be picked up as the race leader again. Yeah, pretty smooth race so far. Late to the stream, please give a shout out. All right, Bam, welcome to the stream. I thought I might have gotten you earlier, but thank you for tuning back in. Oh, I didn't even see the super chat in there as well. Robert Goodrich, thank you for the $5 super chat. I apologize, I did not get to that earlier. I completely missed it. This is why I always go back through the chat. Yeah, thank you so much for that. For being late again. Yeah, I appreciate you tuning back in. Better late than never. Hopefully you're still around, Robert. Apologize again for not getting to that super chat sooner. And thank you for the donation.
Do you buy O'Reilly Auto Parts, your professional parts people? Progressive. Save when you bundle motorcycle, RV, and boat insurance. Visit Progressive.com. And by Boss Grills, America's #1 pellet grill. It's been a perfect weather weekend here in Sonoma, California. Love our seat in the booth, but Carla, I think I like yours even better down there.
That's right. I'm here in turn 11. We've got some really cool trophies in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. We've got the sword, the clock, but here in Sonoma, if you're a wine connoisseur, then you really love this one because this is a chalice that a driver will get. It's going to be filled with one slice Sabonis Pinot Noir in Victory Lane today. And if Sabonis sounds a little bit familiar to you, yes, that is Domantas Sabonis of the Sacramento Kings, a 3-time NBA All-Star player. He and his wife own a winery, and this is only produced in exclusive quantities. So very special for the winner today. And I know you're thinking, well, we have a lot of underage drivers. Well, they're not going to get the Pinot Noir, unfortunately. They're going to get Martinelli's apple cider. So maybe not quite as exclusive, Kim, but still fancy enough, I think. Well, I can tell you two guys that would love to take home that exclusive bottle of wine. SVG running P1, Jesse Love running P2. So where do they stand based on flipping that stage? Well, crew chief Danny Stockman before the race told me we've got really good fuel mileage compared to the field. We're fine flipping stage 2. He did tell his driver, I need the best saving of your life here. So maybe questionable or just feeling a little nervous about their fuel mileage for the 9 of SVG. Remember, I told you guys that Philip Bell told me he was absolutely nervous. Well, take a listen to Starkey in-car communication, how they feel.
Doesn't seem to be a lot of stress there. 14 drivers flipped it. A few of those pitted. So 11 stay out. Zillage, his teammate out front. Shane Van Gisbergen and Jesse Love get us going again. Final stage, Sonoma.
Another great restart by Jesse Love, but able to hang on the outside. Not gonna look like it.
Oh, he's there.
Oh, he is. He's gonna have the inside of turn 3, but SVG drives it down in the corner. Up over their hill here. Can he get the power down? Gonna hold Jesse Love off of the lead.
Look who comes through to third. Anthony Alfredo flipping the stage right in the gate.
Wasn't quite able to do the crossover there for Jesse Love, but you mentioned Adam. Anthony Alfredo back into the top 3. Stage 1 winner. He's in the hunt.
Corey Day is as well. Been a quiet afternoon for him because of the way the coming and going has happened with the track position and the way they've traded things in regard to the pit cycle, but he's up there inside the top 5. Look at Zillage.
Yeah, under Jeremy Clements now. Into 9th. So we see Jesse Love peeking low under SVG down in turn 11. Can't get it done.
Day racing gray. And I hope they're not racing for long. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. Allgaier goes wide in 11th.
He's had a rough 2 weeks there. Just all got the standard last week. They hit the long qualifying, got spun out into the race, had a cylinder, lost a cylinder, lost a second cylinder, and now this race is not going to plan for the 7 of just all got.
Mr. Green talked about his day. Always good racing on the road, in particular here at Sonoma. He's top 10, right in front of Rick Cruz. Hey, we should celebrate Jeremy Clements, too. I mean, they've had a great day. And when you look at the last month, 6 weeks or so, 51 spent a lot of time inside the top 15.
And Alfredo puts pressure on Jesse Love. There goes Zillage, the inside of Sawalch. Should have the leverage to get to the end of these exits for 9. Finish them easily before 8.
Sawalch losing a position is big because he has dropped below the chase cut line with what Rick Cruz has done here today. You look at the updated standings. I go right to Retzloff at plus 55. Great for that team. But you see how tight it is at the cut between teammates. The teenagers there separated by 9.
Right on board here. The Dude Wife's on board with Anthony Alfredo. This is what Shane Van Gisbergen wants to see. These two battling. We heard it on the radio communication before going back to green. If SVG can get a little bit of a lead, that's where he can start saving that fuel. Give him a little bit of extra kind of bonus wiggle room just in case of green-white checkers at the end of the race. And what he's sizing up now is where has he been better than the two Jesse Love? Where is he now lacking? He got right to him. And it's like Jesse got the message, vaulted away by a couple far legs here. Here down into turn 11 once again. Some tact. Oh, boy.
Raja Kruth, 88. Another one of those drivers dancing around the chase cut line. 22 out as we run, making his first Sonoma appearance.
And I talked to Raja yesterday. He had never been here before. And practice was challenging. Qualifying was challenging. And his hope was to use all these laps to learn. This place is tough. When you come here, which we've been coming to NASCAR for so long, and so many drivers have so many starts here compared to him, you're playing a lot of catch-up.
Series champion Chase Elliott will drive that car next week, Chicagoland Speedway, and Joliet also be behind the wheel in Indianapolis. Waffle, Clements, Mayer, Jeff Burton right back with that group there.
Like Sam has been side by side for about every other lap. I mean, even here, the last stage 2, end of stage 2 to begin of stage 3. That's a tough pass to make that he just made work there. Harder to go around the outside of turn 1 to get yourself set up to the inside of turn 2, making the pass to Jeremy Clements. We see Dean Thompson here backwards. Looks like in turn 2. A lot of damage. High forward. Both the Sam Hunt Racing cars have had issues down in Harris Fern was into 1. Dean Thompson looked like out of 2.
And it's unfortunate because they have found their way in recent weeks. Prior to San Diego, Dean has been finishing inside the top 15. Talked earlier about the top 10 last week for Harrison Burton. As you see what happened to the 26 there, a little contact.
I believe that's Brennan Poole who got into him, just got loose into one. Same area that we saw Harrison Burton get loose and lose it. It is a tricky corner as Zilich the inside of Taylor Gray. Here in the top five. Marches through the field best that he can.
3.5 seconds behind race leader Shane Van Gisbergen.
Well, I was going to say, as we watch him go to turn one and up that hill, you are slowing the car the whole time, but it's not easy going up that hill. And the race car can easily be on edge as it compresses into the hillside and gains a lot of front grip suddenly. Something all these drivers are managing lap after lap into one, and you try to carry as much speed as you can up that hill, but sometimes the car can get away.
Head towards 25 laps to go. Now we go full throttle with sound gear. Wherever sound is a problem, sound gear has the solution. Scan the QR code to learn more at soundgear.com. Turn it up. Actually now, 4.5 seconds for SVG over fourth place, Connor Zilich.
But what did you just hear in sound gear full throttle there as he went up the hill into one, into two? Clutching and coasting, AJ. He is managing this race at such a high level. He's able to clutch and coast to save fuel and driving away. Jesse Love. And on top of it, as he releases the clutch, he seems to be in a taller gear. So he's third gear up to turn 2 and 3 and 4, down all through those corners. So he's doing a couple things. He's saving fuel being in the taller gear, and he's saving his rear tires because as he throttles up, that motor starts to lug and it doesn't spin the rear tires off these corners. So he's getting kind of a double bonus of fuel save and saving tires. This is literally a master class that you're seeing in real time by Shane Van Gisbergen.
He's led 42 laps today from the pole, and he's given up some of those because of strategy. It's Shane Van Gisbergen out front of Jesse Love, Anthony Alfredo, Connor Zilich, and Corey Day.
Side-by-side commercial break on the CW. We'll go through the full field running order with a little less than 25 laps to go. Shane Van Gisbergen out in front by about 2.5 seconds over second place Jesse Love. Anthony Alfredo in third. Connor Zilich in fourth. Corey Day rounds out the top 5 and fifth. In the 6th place position, it is Taylor Gray with Austin Hill in 7th, Parker Retzlaff 8th, Brent Cruz 9th, and Austin Green up to 10th after starting in the last row. Sheldon Creed in 11th, Carson Kvapil 12th, William Sawalich 13th, Sam Mayer 14th, and Raja Karuth at 15th. 16th is Justin Allgaier with Sammy Smith 17th, Josh Bilicki 18th, Jeremy Clements 19th, and Ryan Segan 20th. Alex LeBay is 21st, 22nd, Will Rogers, Jeb Burton 23rd, Harrison Burton 24th, and Kyle Sieg 25th. Ryan Ellis, 26th, Blaine Perkins, 27th, Brendan Poole, 28th, Patrick Starpulli, 29th, and 30th is Leland Honeyman, Josh Williams, 31st, LeVar Scott, 32nd, Dawson Cramp, 33rd, Dean Thompson, 34th, and 35th, Kyle Kelly. 36th, Brandon Jones, 12 laps down off track, Ross Chastain out of the race, 37th, and Brad Perez out in 38th, and that rounds out the full 38-car field for today's race. 4 cautions, 2 for incident, 1 in Stage 1, 1 in Stage 2. Stage 3 so far caution-free. 11 caution laps total in the race out of 57 laps complete out of 79. Just over an hour and a half in as well on our laps time. Shane Van Gisbergen by far has led the most laps today. He has led for 43 laps and counting. Stage 1 winner was Anthony Alfredo. He has led for 5 laps. Connor Zilich, Stage 2 winner for 4 laps on pit strategy for both of those. And Jesse Love, 1 lap led under the caution. Connor Zilich caught past Anthony Alfredo while I was going through the running order. Now just moments ago past Jesse Love for second. 4 seconds out of the lead. Those last couple laps, Zilich has been faster than the race leader Shane Van Gisbergen. Also, Zilich's fastest lap of the day at lap 55 was also the fastest lap of the race overall and was about 0.3 faster than any lap Shane Van Gisbergen has been able to put down so far. Zilic has picked up 10 positions since the last restart to get to where he's at right now in hot pursuit of the 9, and we're maybe going to see a repeat of last year, the SVG versus Connor Zilic battle. Instead of it being from start to finish of the race, it's still only going to be the finish this year, but it's going to be well worth the wait, and going to be fun to follow that along the way. We're going to take our final break of the stream. You're listening live on KRC. Full flag-to-flag coverage of today's O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race continues. Our like goal is still to get to 50 on today's stream. If you haven't yet hit the like button, be sure to do so. We are at 31 as of right now. We've got well more than 50 concurrent viewers watching throughout the course of today's live commentary coverage. Be sure to hit the like button. It does help these streams out a ton. As we get down into the home stretch, watching the Shane Van Gisbergen Connor Zilic show. Sonoma Raceway for the second consecutive year. Can SVG maybe get the best of Zilic this year? In this very race, in this very series, at this very track? Or will it be Zilic going for the repeat? Besting his foe yet again. Keep here with my commentary for about the final 23 to 24 laps of today's race. Actually, I should say about 22 laps to go. That time by at the start-finish line for SVG. Plenty of time for Connor Zilic to get there. That is for sure. Now that Zilic has gotten to second place, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of lap times he's going to run compared to SVG. He has shown to be faster at times, but can he keep that consistency up throughout the course of the run, keep the car clean, put the pressure on SVG? Does SVG have enough fuel to make it to the end? I would assume so. He's only got 2 more green flag laps worth of gas to make it to the end of the race than Connor Zilic. Though on a road course, that's quite a bit. I do think he's saving enough throughout the course of the run that he is putting himself in a very, very good position. But you just don't know until we get closer to that checkered flag flying. I don't think fuel is as much an issue as what maybe the broadcast booth is making it seem to be. I think that there were a lot of drivers who stayed out for those stage points for a reason. I'm quite surprised Connor Zilic didn't do that, to just stay on the same strategy as the driver of the number 9. They must have really thought that they were going to be short. Or the other thing that I can think of is it was a junior motorsports call in general from the owner. If we have one on each strategy, whatever the winning strategy is going to be, we're going to get one of our cars to victory lane. Either way, these guys have come out to first and second place. And the pace that Zilic is running right now, being just a couple tenths faster lap, he's got enough laps left that he is going to make up the time if he can consistently put forth this run versus SVG. Also, though, how much is SVG saving still in the fuel saving measures that's maybe allowing for Connor Zilic to get that much better of a lap than Van Gisbergen? That last lap was a 77.005 for Zilic to a 77.37 for SVG, so about 0.3 of a second faster. Again, that's kind of been the consistent trend throughout the course of the run. Now they both pick up. Zilic runs a 76.74 to SVG's 76.89, so it was a little over a tenth and a half faster for Zilic that last lap, but they both picked up from where they were running the lap before that. So pressing just that much harder, and that maybe is going to show that SVG isn't necessarily saving quite as much. We shall see. Pretty much clean and green through the final stage and ending on a long green flag run in stage 3 of last year's Sonoma O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race. I would imagine that's going to be the same, the way the pace has kind of gone here as of late as well. The only 2 cautions we've seen so far today haven't necessarily been because of crashes. Just a fluid leakage from Ross Chastain, early exit for him, and then a tire cut down with the carcass coming off of Kyle Sieg's race car. Kyle Sieg is still in the race, and I believe he is on the lead lap in 25th. Going back through the running order again. Zilch 3.5 seconds back that last time by at the line. Another 0.2 faster than SVG the last time by. Looking forth that good run. Frank Cruz trying to pick up a spot with an aggressive maneuver on Corey Day, kind of running him up the racetrack, clearing wide for 6th place through turn number 11. Cruz 11.5 seconds out of the lead, stayed out for stage points, finishing 2nd back in stage 1. Qualified on the front row in this one. Has had a quiet but good day. He's up to 2nd most position since the restart behind Zilic. 7 spots gained for the 18-year-old driving the number 19 car. Carson Kvapil also up 7 spots into the top 10, restarted 17th up to 10th in the 91. For the 2nd time today, Justin Allgaier has gone around on the racetrack as he just gets back on course. And that was right around turn 2, I believe, in which Allgaier went wide. So the poor day continues for the 7. Allgaier had a couple of spins last week in San Diego, a couple more spins on another road course this week at Sonoma, and I think he's glad this is the last road course race of the season with the luck that has been had over the last couple of weeks, and just not a good run. A good thing he had that 250-point lead going into last week, because even with the multiple spins, he only lost 26 points at the cut line, and this week he's going to lose some more, but he's still going to have a multiple race gap over 2nd. And pretty much an albeit lock for the regular season title, barring something catastrophic in the last 7 races of the regular season after today's event. For the first lap over the last, I don't know, probably 5-6 laps plus, at least since Zilic got to 2nd place position, that SVG was actually better than Connor Zilic that last lap. In fact, SVG just ran his fastest lap of the race that last time by at the end of lap 62 with a 76.788. It's still not the fastest lap of the race to Zilic, but it was the fastest lap that SVG has ran. So as he's now trying to push, thinking fuel is probably going to be good to the end, the idea that Zilic is going to be able to run down his foe at the front of the pack, it's going to be a little bit tougher. It's go time for SVG, where he's going to leave everything on the table. And we really are going to start to see what exactly that 9 car has. Pressing and pressing hard. And SVG backs that up with a 76.8 again that last lap. Connor Zilic 77.1, 3/10 slower, and the lead is back up over 4 seconds again, which is as big as it's been since Connor Zilic, again, had passed Jesse Love for 2nd place, however many laps ago that was now. 15 laps to go this time by for Van Gisbergen. The interval in the top 10 in the running order, it's a 4.2 second lead for SVG over Connor Zilic in 2nd. 8.5 seconds back to the 3rd place car of Jesse Love. 9.9 seconds to Anthony Alfredo in 4th, who's had a great day today. Taylor Gray is in 5th place at 10.8 seconds back. Brent Cruz 12.1 back at 6th. 7th place is Parker Rutzlaff at 13.6 seconds off the lead. Corey Day 14.7 back in 8th. Austin Hill 15.3 back in 9th, and Carson Kvapil 18.7 seconds out of the lead, rounding out the top 10. Another side-by-side commercial break on the CW, as we'll stay right here in the waning laps of today's race. Yeah, I wasn't able to watch the WWE pay-per-view in full earlier. I watched the first hour of it live, and then we had to go live for the Cup practice and qualifying stream. So, and then I watched the Steel Cage match, which was an epic between Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker in between streams today. But I still got to catch up on the back half of it, so you're watching that tonight. It's like the one time that it doesn't coincide with like a race stream where I'm streaming on like a Saturday night. It happens to be the time where they actually have the pay-per-view running during the day instead of at night. Go figure for me. I'm sure SummerSlam Saturday night's probably going to be tough. Actually, that might be the weekend that NASCAR's off in August. So I might actually luck out with that weekend. Watch it in full. Live, and as CM Punk would say, in living color. Connor Zilic, I don't think has anything for Shane Van Gisbergen. I think just after the last 3 laps alone where SVG has consistently beat Zilic now that he's not fuel-saving measures anymore, if it stays green, it's probably over. I don't think SVG is going to necessarily slip a wheel. When he was pushing hard in qualifying in the Cup Series earlier, he actually went for a spin in turn 2. Things got a little greasy underneath the wheels of that number 97 Chevrolet, but in a situation right now, I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the case in the race. Only thing that can take him out of a shot of winning this thing now, I think, is just a late race restart, which is not impossible that we catch another caution. There's still enough laps left. Well, I don't think it's likely. If he'll be spaced apart on a road course, you still just never know. Calamity could strike at any given time. I say that, and then Connor Zilic picked up a huge amount of time that last lap. But I think it was more SVG actually did make a mistake. It wasn't a major one in which he slipped off course, but just looking at the lap time, he ran a 77.2, where he was consistently in the 76s, and Zilic, who at times has been in the 76s, was kind of back in the 77s the last couple laps. So 3.6 seconds off the late for Zilic. Maybe I wrote him off too soon. It is Connor Zilic on a road course. It's just to make up that much time on a guy that isn't Shane Van Gisbergen might be more likely than a guy that is Shane Van Gisbergen. Quite the incredible drive if Zilic can do it. 2 wins in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series this season for Connor Zilic, one of which was actually on an oval at Bristol, and then he also was able to win at Watkins Glen. Versus for Shane Van Gisbergen, he was able to win at COTA earlier this season in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. So he's got 1 win, and both of those 2 drivers have won those 3 races, all for Junior Motorsports. In fact, Zilic was in the 1 car every time, and SVG was in the 9 back at COTA. Zilic smoking the tires up in the hairpin in turn 7. Pressing hard, got to make sure not to flat spot anything to take yourself out of it this early. In order to win the race, you first must finish the race. And he's letting it all on the line right now. That is, without question, that's really the case for both drivers. Just that big of a deficit, trading lap times back and forth is just not going to be good enough. And that pace on SVG was still trying to save a little bit. And then once he his foot even more on the throttle and stopped saving, it's been a lot harder for Zilic to make up time. He hasn't been within 3.4 seconds yet, and he's been in second place for the better part of about a dozen laps or more. Still right at that 3.8 margin. Pasta, Anthony Alfredo getting shown with the Dude Wipes cam on the Dude Wipes car. Within just a second of Jesse Love in third, who has really lost pace of these top couple. Alfredo was faster that last lap than the third place car of Love, and even Taylor Gray back in the 5th place position was also faster. Brett Cruz, that last lap, ran a lap time that was actually faster than Connor Zilic back in 6th. Not as fast as the leader SVG, but pretty good lap by Brett Cruz. The problem is if he's still in 6th, if a caution ends up coming out, is that he's going to be in row 3. That's going to be difficult to win from not only outside the front row in a restart, but very much so if a caution came out and restarted even in row 2, that'd be difficult. At least more likely, but you get back into that 3rd row, you're going to need more than 2 laps unless the leaders just absolutely take each other out. Barring something like that happening, it's going to have to get a couple more spots here before the next yellow. And it's possible. Because Taylor Gray's not only right in front of him, but then the fourth place car, Anthony Alfredo, third place car, Jesse Love, are kind of bunching closer and closer together. Cruz is by far the fastest of those three cars in front of him. If he can get to third, he's right there in the mix if a late race yellow happens, just as much as Connor Zilic would be. Zilic lost lap time again. So that one little slip up by SVG about 3 laps ago now, he lost like 7/10 in one lap. And he's pretty much gotten that back over the last few laps of being 2 to 3 tenths faster than Zilic again. He's going to have to go completely off course if something crazy were to happen. Austin Hill on pit road here late.
This was unscheduled. They had thought tire going down, then the rear end and parked the track. Here to be the case. They thought they'd seen the rear end of that race car moving around. So here's supposed to get that car back on the racetrack, change tire, then send him back out.
Ouch.
Had his second win of the year last year.
Sounds like a false diagnosis for the 21 team of Austin Hill, which has already been a rough day, especially by road course measures for that team, and winning on one street course in San Diego a week ago. Sounds like something was coming apart with the rear, whether it was the track bar mount or it was one of the rear tires going down. None of the case, unfortunately, just drivability concerns, and now losing a lot more points on the table. Tough for that 21 team. Not necessarily in the battle for the regular season championship, but very much in the battle coming into the day on points. As entering this race, he was 5th in the standings, but he was only 32 points out of second. Losing this many spots, he could actually fall back with Carson Kvapil scored some stage points today and running in the top 10 late. Kvapil within 30 points of him. Brandon Jones has had a rough day, so I don't think he's going to jump him. But not only that, but losing points to the guys who you're trying to catch that are in front of you, like a Jesse Love, like a really only Jesse Love, I guess, was outrun. Well, Corey Day is going to be outrunning him now with the issue. And I think Day's actually had some decent stage points today. He was top 5 at the end of stage 2. I don't believe Hill had a top 5 at either stage today. Corey Day still in the top 10 and 9th, despite losing time late. Battle for third on track and on camera with about 9 laps to go between Jesse Love and the 96 of Anthony Alfredo. Brent Cruz had already made his way to 5th, passing Taylor Gray a couple laps ago. Cruz to the outside, defensive line by Jesse Love. Contact with Alfredo. 19 car backed out of that 3-wide maneuver. That was going to be tight, but Love gets moved up out of the way by Alfredo, who was getting held up by a little bit. Anthony knew he had to get going and try to keep that 19 in the rearview mirror. And that was a very defensive line by Love. And Love slowing up enough through the S's after getting out of turn 7 that Brent Cruz is going to blow by him much faster than Alfredo was able to do so. And Taylor Gray as well trying to get underneath the 2. So it looks like Love struggled with grip down the stretch just like his teammate Austin Hill was moments ago. And hopefully Love can hang on because he just lost 3 positions on this lap going from 3rd back to 6th. 3rd place over 15 seconds off the race lead, more than 11 seconds off the 2nd place car of Connor Zilic. Zilic was about a 10th faster than SVG again that last lap, but this rate at a 4-second deficit coming up on 8 laps to go, he's going to have to be about a half a second faster each lap to catch him under a green flag condition. SVG has caught the back of the pack right now, so he is working through lap traffic. With every growing lap car that Van Gisbergen is able to get by, that's another lap car that Zilic will also have to get by. So while Van Gisbergen's lap time might be hindered just a little bit these next several laps, and Zilic could potentially catch up a wide margin, then Zilic is going to end up losing that same lap time. Have to catch it past cars in the perfect spots. Just getting into the braking zone, trying to clear them off exits. So you can still get back to the throttle at your usual points, or as close to it as possible to maintain lap time that you would have been running with clean air and clean traffic in front. Shane Van Gisbergen, I'm sure the next lap he wants to see is the final lap. Another car slow on course, and that would be the 71. Looks like there's a hand out the window for, I believe that is Ryan Ellis as he tries to nurse his way back to pit road. Actually, Leland Honeyman in the 71 this weekend. My apologies on that. Ryan Ellis in the 02 this weekend. So Leland Honeyman in the 71 car. He is the last car to the lead lap and having some problems trying to get back onto pit road as he is very, very slow. We do stay green for right now. Tough to tell what is exactly slowing him down. Got a little less than a half a lap to go to make it back into the pits. See if he maybe pulls off the racetrack onto an excess road. Nope. Hung a huge right before getting into the S's, but I think he's just trying to stay off of the actual racing line by as much as he possibly can. Keep from not only getting ran over, but impeding on other people's lap times and battles for position down the stretch. No fluids leaking out from underneath that car. Every car that goes by him, it doesn't look like they're slipping up at all, like there's any oil or fluids on the ground. Get out of turn 10, try to get off to the left. Clean traffic behind him to do so, and it looks like Honeyman will make it back into the pits. So good for Leland. Honeyman makes it back onto pit road with 6 laps to go, and Shane Van Gisbergen can maybe breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief there. If his team was telling him about a slow car on the racetrack, I don't think they would have told him, or at least if I were a crew chief or spotter, I wouldn't be telling him, hey, there's a slow car on the racetrack, there could be a caution. No, don't even mention that. Just let him go. Let him do his thing. Caution comes out. Tell him the caution's out, but make him, no need to give him a heart attack behind the wheel. He probably has no idea that was even going on. Unless he passed that slow car, then started to think about it. But SVG doesn't seem like a guy that'd be thinking about that. He's not a guy that really seems like nerves get to him very much when behind the wheel of a race car. He's just at a point where, especially a road course like this, just another day in the office. Brent Cruz still in a battle with Anthony Alfredo for third, and Alfredo just able to hold him off. I think it's big here for Anthony, even if Brent Cruz gets around him just to make it to the finish of the race. Alfredo's had some serious speed. Last week in Chicago, had that crash at the beginning of stage 3. He's had a couple of other instances where he has had top 5, top 10 runs. Kind of starts well with good qualifying effort, maybe gets some stage points, but doesn't get the finish. That's why Retzlaff sits 9th in points, and Alfredo comes into this race 17th. That's really been the difference between the two because they've been very similar on speed this year. And so there you go. Brent Cruz is going to get by the 96. Taylor Gray going to do so as well. He's pulling away from Jesse Love behind him, and his next car would actually be Parker Retzlaff at 6th, who's also gotten by Love. So next car is a teammate. Quite a wide margin to him. Stays green to the end. Alfredo's going to have 5th locked up. No need to push extra hard here for a 3rd or 4th place run. Make it to the end, get those points. And do what you can to kind of gain on the cut line. It does stink that one of those drivers is just above the cut line. Brent Cruz, who was one of the 2 that passed you, but survive and advance to the next day. And Taylor Gray, another one of those drivers, actually ahead the cut line on points. 10th coming in and still sits 10th. The points as they run, as I just showed that graphic on the CW's broadcast. 4 laps to go against Shane Van Gisbergen in the lead by 4.3 seconds. Just trying to get to the white flag at this point, and then obviously the checker after that. 16.7 second advantage to 3rd place Brent Cruz and a 17.9 second advantage to 4th place Taylor Gray. Anthony Alfredo, Fast Pasta rounds out the top 5 and 5th as mentioned moments ago. Then Parker Retzlaff 6th. Jesse Love has fallen to 7th on the final run. Carson Quapple up to 8th. Corey Day 9th. Sam Mayer in 10th. Sheldon Creed in 11th. Sammy Smith in 12th. Austin Green 13th. William Sawalch 14th. And Ryan Sieg 15th. 16th for Roger Caruth, 17th Josh Balicki, Will Rogers 18th, Harrison Burton 19th, and Alex LeBay 20th. Jeremy Clements in 21st, Jeff Burton 22nd, Ryan Ellis 23rd, Austin Hill 24th, and Brendan Poole 25th. Patrick Staropoli in 26th, Josh Williams 27th, Dean Thompson last car in the lead lap at 28th, Justin Allgaier actually lap down at 29th, and 30th the lap down Blaine Perkins. 31st, also off the lead lap, is LeVar Scott, Dawson Cram 32nd, Kyle Sieg 33rd, Kyle Kelly 3 laps down in 34th. Honeyman just pulled off track 5 laps ago in 35th. Brandon Jones on track 12 laps down in 36th. 2 cars out of the race. Ross Chastain 37th. Brad Perez 38th. 2 laps to go at the line for Shane Van Gisbergen. As you see on our live leaderboard, still tracking green on the racetrack. Things are looking pretty good. SVG crossing the start-finish line. He just put Justin Allgaier a lap down, by the way. Some nose to the splitter of Allgaier's car. I don't know if that came from the first spin or the second one later. I would assume the second when he went off-roading. First spin down in turn 7, he made more contact with maybe the right rear of his car with another one, but not so much with the nose splitter. Could have damaged that bumps and hills off the racing track itself. A lot of elevation changes here at Sonoma. Track quite literally through the mountains, in the mountains. Well, Zilich still has the fastest lap of the race, but fastest start to finish of a green flag run, without a doubt, has been Shane Van Gisbergen here today. Checkered flag flies. SVG will have led all but 10 laps of the 79. It'll be 69 laps led out of 79. The only laps he didn't lead were flipping the stages by pitting under green, both in stage 1 and stage 2 today. Obviously, still got to hope that SVG can make it all the way back around to pit road. Or, sorry, all the way back around to the front stretch the following lap. Haven't really talked about fuel a whole lot up to this point. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go. Kind of backing off, not really looking like he's trying to press to get by these lap cars that are ahead of him. He had a 4.5 second advantage over Connor Zilich with about 2 laps to go in the race. Zilich still pacing back there. SVG maybe clutching, coasting on this final lap with that 4 second advantage just to maintain the gap, knowing that he's going to be still kind of tight on fuel to the end. Less than a half a lap to go now. Well, he managed everything well today. Race execution and strategy as well. He was the guy to beat and had the best strategy to win the race. Full team effort all the way around, and it'll be the driver, the number 9, getting his second O'Reilly Auto Parts Series win this year. Checkered flag in the air. Shane Van Gisbergen is a winner at Sonoma. Second win at the track in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. His first back in 2024 in his rookie full-time season in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. His only one full-time, and the part-time driver, he's going to nab a couple more wins here this year as well. So checkered flag again. Shane Van Gisbergen, your race winner here today in the Pit Boss Food Max 250 at Sonoma. 2.7 second margin of victory over Connor Zilich in P2. Zilich finishes second, Brett Cruz third, Taylor Gray fourth, and Anthony Alfredo again round out the top 5 and 5th. Parker Retzlaff finishes 6th with Carson Quapple 7th, Corey Day 8th. Jesse Love fell back 2 more spots to 9th in the last couple laps. Then Sam Mayer rounds out the top 10. Sheldon Creed in 11th, Sammy Smith 12th, Austin Green 13th, William Sawalch 14th, and 15th Ryan Sieg, with Roger Cruth in 16th, Josh Balicki 17th, Harrisburg 18th, Will Rogers 19th, and Alex LeBay 20th. Jeremy Clements finishes 21st, Jeb Burke 22nd, Ryan Ells 23rd, Austin Hill 24th, and Brendan Poole 25th, with 26th Patrick Staropoli, Josh Williams 27th, Dean Thompson in 28th, Justin Allgaier 29th, rounding out the field. And actually, it looks like Taylor Gray. Yeah, Taylor Gray just ran out of gas in the kink coming back to the start-finish line. He's going to get assistance from Brandon Jones to get pushed across the line, but he is not going to finish up inside the top 5. He was running in 4th place on that final lap. So great 4th place on the final lap, will not make it to the finish. So last car in the lead lap is going to have him in 29th instead. So let me refresh the page here just to get the leaderboard updated so I can rerun that through for you guys. I just kind of glanced down and saw he was just parked there, so he did not make it to the finish. Unofficial results to this one. Again, the top 3 stayed the same. SVG with the win, Zilch second, Brett Cruz third, then Anthony Alfredo will get moved up to 4th. Parker Retzlaff 5th, Carson Quapple 6th, Torrey Day 7th, Jesse Love 8th, Sam Mayer 9th, Sheldon Creed will get credit with a top 10. Sammy Smith in 11th, Austin Green 12th, Williams Walsh in 13th, Ryan Sieg 14th, Roger Cruz 15th, 16th, Josh Balicki, Harrison Burton in 17th, 18th, Will Rogers, 19th, Alex Obey, Jeremy Clements 20th, 21st for Jeb Burton, Ryan Ellis 22nd, 23rd, Austin Hill, Brendan Poole 24th, Patrick Starpoli 25th, Josh Williams in 26th, Dean Thompson 27th, Justin Allgaier 28th, then Taylor Gray will be the last car in the lead lap at 29th. First car lap down in 30th, William Perkins, and Kyle Sieg 31st, Dawson Cran 32nd, LeVar Scott 33rd, all finished 1 lap down. Kyle Kelly 3 laps down in 34th, Leland Honeyman off track, DNF 35th, 7 laps down. Brandon Jones finished, but 12 laps down in 36th. And then 2 more DNFs also for Ross Chastain at 37th, Brad Press 38th, 3 DNFs total here today. Again, 69 of 79 laps led for Shane Van Gisbergen. What a performance. 8 lead changes, 11 caution laps, 4 cautions. Stage 3 going caution free today. Our only yellows in Stage 1 and Stage 2. And then the 2 breaks at lap 20 and lap 45 for the stage ends. Burnout has just commenced on the front stretch here at Sonoma. SVG climbing out of the car. You're going to get a word with your race winner here in a second. And, of course, the rugby kick into the grandstands on the front stretch as well. Here's SVG winner in Sonoma Valley.
Let Shane go ahead and do the signature signing of the rugby ball and the kick. Well, yeah, watch out in the front row here, folks. Let her eat. Go ahead. Oh, that was you got all of that one. The upper deck almost. Oh, I stopped the canopy over there. Hey, Shane, as he goes around here and gives these guys a much-deserved fist bump and high five, team effort today, make sure that they had enough fuel to get to the end. You had enough fuel to do a John Force here on the front stretch, but how tense were those last few laps just trying to make sure you got this thing right here to the start-finish line?
Yeah, a little bit. Luckily enough, I think I saved enough early, and sorry it wasn't the most exciting. I guess boring is good when you're the one leading, but yeah, thank you to Superfile and Junior Motorsports, Chevy. What an amazing car, like to lead like that, and car was just so good the whole race, and stoked to get another one for these guys.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job today, to say the least. Shane Van Gisbergen dominates and saves enough fuel to get it done at Sonoma for the second time.
Job well done for SVG. Congratulations to him for winning here today for the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series at Sonoma. Tune in tomorrow for Cup Series racing at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll go live for that one, also at Sonoma Raceway for the Cup side. And then also be on the lookout for our pre-race for that, because we'll go through the NASCAR in-season tournament as that will begin tomorrow. I'll fill out my bracket live on stream, as well as the other pre-race shenanigans that we do every weekend. Congrats to Ty Gibbs. He'll be on the pole for tomorrow's race as well. Hope to see you for all of that action for Sunday afternoon. Have a good rest of your Saturday night, everybody, and stay safe out there. Good night, everyone.